Okay, honest question. Have you ever spent hours memorizing something, felt like an absolute genius, and then completely forgot it the very next day? Like your brain just looked at all your hard work and said, cute. Anyway, delete. Yeah. Turns out, memorizing is kinda like trying to get fit by buying gym clothes instead of actually going to the gym. It feels productive, but your brain knows you're cheating. Here's the weird part, most smart people are actually stuck in this trap. They memorize more, but learn less. And if you think memorizing is the secret to getting smarter, well, you're accidentally playing the game on easy mode while thinking it's expert. Let me show you the real upgrade. Let me guess, you've been there. You sit down to study something important, maybe a book, a course, a topic you know will help your life, and 10 minutes in, your brain suddenly remembers every urgent task on Earth. Oh, you wanted to learn? Sorry, we actually need to reorganize your sock drawer right now. Very important. Life or death situation. And when you do finally manage to focus, you try to memorize everything because that's what you were taught in school, right? Underline every sentence. Highlight the whole page. Rewrite the same notes until your hand develops trust issues. It feels productive, like you're doing all the right things. But later, when you need that information, your brain is like, never heard of it. Who are you again? And it's not even your fault. You're not lazy. You're not bad at learning. You're not missing some magical intelligence gene that everyone else secretly got. You were just trained to learn in the most boring, outdated, schoolish way possible. You've probably had moments where you read an entire chapter and realized you absorbed nothing. Or watched a 20-minute tutorial and walked away remembering only the background music. Or maybe you've tried to read self-improvement books and thought, wow, this is great, and then proceeded to live your life exactly the same way as before. And deep down, you wonder, why does learning feel like pushing a car uphill, while everyone else seems to understand things so effortlessly? If that sounds like you, congratulations, you're perfectly normal. Because the problem isn't you. It's the method. You don't need more motivation. You don't need a bigger brain. You don't need to memorize harder. You just need to learn smarter. And once you get the shift I'm about to show you, learning stops feeling like torture, and starts feeling like unlocking cheat codes in your own mind. Here's the part nobody likes to admit. Most of us approach learning the same way we approach assembling IKEA furniture, confident for absolutely no reason. We think, I'll just memorize everything. Easy. And then we wonder why nothing sticks. The biggest mistake people make is assuming that memorizing equals learning. It doesn't. That's like assuming taking pictures of food equals eating. Sure, you look productive, but you're still starving. Think about how most people study or learn something new. They open a book, read one paragraph, nod dramatically like a philosopher, then immediately forget what they just read. So they go back, read it again, nod even harder, still forget it. By the 5th time, they're convinced the text is possessed or their brain needs a software update. Or the classic, highlighting. If highlighting actually worked, you'd be a genius by now. Some people highlight so aggressively, it looks like the textbook fell into a bucket of neon paint. But their brain? Still running on trial version. Then we have repeat readers, the ones who keep rereading the same chapter because they think repetition magically forces intelligence into their skull. Spoiler, rereading is just a more polite version of procrastination. And let's not forget the people who watch educational videos at 2x speed while taking 0 notes. They finish the video like, wow. I learned so much. Really? Then why do you remember nothing except the narrator's slightly panicked fast-forward voice? But the funniest part? We keep doing these things even though we know they don't work. Because they feel safe. Comfortable. Familiar. Memorizing feels productive, even when it's not. It gives you that mini ego boost, like, yes, I am improving while your brain is literally copy-pasting nothing. What makes it worse is school trained us for years to believe that the person who remembers the most is automatically the smartest. But school tests don't measure intelligence, they measure short-term storage speed. It's basically a competition of who can panic memorize this the night before and forget it immediately after. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The real world doesn't reward people who remember facts. It rewards people who use knowledge. People who understand. People who can connect ideas. People who apply, create, and think. But memorizing tricks you into thinking you're learning, when you're actually just hoarding information like a squirrel hoards nuts, except squirrels at least remember where they put them. Once you realize this mistake, everything changes. Because learning stops being about stuffing your brain, and starts being about transforming your thinking. Here's the twist no one talks about. You don't actually want to memorize more. You want what you think memorizing will give you. You want to feel confident when you learn something new. You want to walk into a room and not feel lost or insecure in conversations. You want to understand things deeply enough that you can explain them, use them, and actually benefit from them. You want learning to feel exciting instead of exhausting. Because deep down, memorizing isn't about facts, it's about control. You want control over your mind, your progress, your future. You want to be someone who gets it quickly. Someone who isn't constantly second-guessing themselves. Someone whose ideas actually stick. Memorizing feels like the shortcut to that. But it's not. It's just the illusion of progress. What you actually want is clarity, not cramming. You want confidence, not flashcards. You want mastery, not mental clutter. And the good news? You don't get any of those by memorizing harder, you get them by learning smarter. By understanding the thing so well that remembering it becomes effortless. That's the real goal. And that's exactly what the next part unlocks. Alright, let's get to the heart of this. Here's the core insight that flips everything. Memorizing is not the engine of learning. Understanding is. Memorizing is just the exhaust fumes, something that naturally happens after an idea makes sense. If you understand something clearly, you don't need to remember it. Your brain just keeps it, like remembering how to ride a bike. You don't memorize the steps, you just know them because your body and brain understand the mechanism. But when something doesn't make sense, your brain treats it like spam mail. Unknown sender. Unrelated to survival. Delete. Most people try to memorize before understanding. That's like trying to install apps on a phone without having an operating system. There is nowhere for the information to run. So what's the main principle? Your brain learns through connections, not storage. Your mind is basically a giant web of ideas. The more connections an idea has, the stronger and more memorable it becomes. Think of your brain like Wi-Fi. A concept with many connections equals strong signal. A concept with little to no connections equals no internet. This is why you can remember the plot of your favorite movie without studying, but you can't remember that boring chapter from school. The movie connected to emotions, visuals, characters, conflict, humor. The chapter connected to a deadline. When information has no context, your brain has no reason to keep it. The secret, active thinking, not active memorizing. People who learn fast don't repeat information. They interact with it. They ask questions. They relate it to something. They explain it in their own words. They break it apart, rebuild it, twist it, test it. It's like meeting someone at a party. If you only hear their name, you'll forget it in 3 minutes. If you actually talk to them, joke around, ask questions, you'll remember them years later. Interaction builds memory. Passivity destroys it. Let's break down the difference clearly. Memorizing looks like this. Reading the same line 5 times. Highlighting every sentence like a crime scene. Repeating facts like a parrot with academic anxiety. Feeling tired but convincing yourself you're being productive. Understanding looks like this. Asking why, until the idea clicks. Explaining it simply. Connecting it to something you already know. Identifying the principle behind the fact. Thinking, not just repeating. Understanding is effortful, yes. But it's the kind of effort that works. Why your brain loves understanding more than memorizing. Your brain is lazy in a very smart way. It doesn't want to store random facts because storage takes energy. But if something makes sense, if it fits neatly into a mental pattern, your brain goes, "Oh, this is part of the system. We keep this." This is why children can remember hundreds of Pokemon but struggle with geography. Pokemon makes sense to them: types, evolutions, strengths, weaknesses. It's a system. Geography was presented as random facts. Learning works exactly the same for adults. If you understand the principle, you automatically remember the details. But if you only memorize the details, you don't understand the principle. And the details evaporate under pressure. The compass versus map analogy. Memorizing is like carrying a detailed map of every street in the world. Understanding is carrying a compass. When you understand the direction, the details don't overwhelm you. You can navigate any terrain, even the ones you've never seen before. Memorizers panic when something looks unfamiliar. Learners adapt instantly because they know the underlying rules. This is why some people learn a new skill in days while others struggle for months. Not because they are smarter, but because they focus on the logic behind the skill instead of memorizing steps. The real problem: school trained you backwards. Most people were trained to memorize first, understand second. But the human brain learns exactly the opposite way. Imagine trying to remember a joke without understanding why it's funny. Impossible. Understanding is the anchor. Memory is the rope. When you only memorize, you're trying to tie a rope to nothing. A practical example: learning a complex idea. Let's say you want to understand the idea of compound interest. Most people memorize the formula. A equals P, 1 plus or slash N, caret, NT. They stare at it until their soul leaves their body. Learners, on the other hand, ask 3 simple questions. What's actually happening here? Why does it grow faster over time? Can I explain this to a kid with a lemonade stand? Once you understand that money grows on top of its earlier growth, like stacking bricks where each layer gets bigger, you don't need to remember the formula. Your brain stores the concept naturally because it's meaningful. The magic of relatable hooks. When you connect an idea to something in your real life, your memory locks it. This is why metaphors, stories, and analogies work so well. Your brain stores meaning, not raw data. A fact without context is like a lone sock in the laundry. It will disappear. Why this changes everything? When you shift from memorizing to understanding, learning becomes faster. You don't burn out as easily. Ideas stick naturally. You can explain things effortlessly. You gain confidence. You stop fearing new information. You actually start enjoying learning. And here's the part most people never tell you. When you understand deeply, memorization happens automatically. No flashcards. No repetition. No torture sessions with a textbook. Understanding is the ultimate cheat code. It's how top students learn faster. It's how innovators think. It's how self-taught people master skills in months instead of years. And it's exactly what you're going to apply for the rest of the video, because now you know the principle that changes everything. Don't memorize the information. Understand the system behind it. Alright, imagine this. You're sitting in a cafe, minding your own business, doing that fake "I'm so focused" look while scrolling through your phone. Suddenly, your friend Ian shows up, the guy who claims he's studying for success but somehow never actually succeeds at studying. He drops his backpack on the chair like it personally offended him and goes, "Bro, I swear I studied for 5 hours yesterday, and today I remember nothing. My brain hates me." You try not to laugh, because you already know how this is gonna go. He pulls out his notebook, a notebook so full of highlighted text it looks like a unicorn exploded on it. "Look at this," he says proudly, flipping through pages that are 98% yellow. "I memorized everything." You raise an eyebrow. "Okay, cool. So what's the chapter about?" Ian freezes. "Well, it's about the thing, the..." He waves his hand vaguely like he's summoning the answer from another dimension. You sip your coffee. You memorize the words, not the meaning. He slumps back. Bro, but I worked so hard. So you try something different. Okay, explain it to me like I'm 5. He thinks for a second, then suddenly his eyes widen. Oh. Wait. It's actually about how habits form because your brain tries to save energy, kinda like shortcuts. You smile. There you go. Now explain that part again. He does. This time it's smoother. He connects it to his morning routine. He relates it to why he always ends up doom scrolling at night. He even builds a tiny example about brushing teeth. After 5 minutes, he leans back like he just cracked the Da Vinci Code. Bro. I think I actually get it. And here's the twist. He didn't memorize anything this time. He understood it. And suddenly, he doesn't need the highlighters, or the panic, or the obsessive repetition. He gets the concept, so the memory comes naturally. This is the moment people realize learning isn't about stuffing your brain, it's about talking to the information until it feels like a friend instead of a stranger. Ian didn't need a bigger brain. He needed a better approach. And now he's using it. And now you will too. Alright, now that the idea is clear, let's make it practical. Here are a few steps you can start using today, like literally after this video, to learn faster without drowning in memorization. 1. Ask why. Before what? Whenever you learn something, don't start by trying to remember the information. Start by asking. Why does this work? What's the logic? Your brain loves meaning. If the idea has no purpose, your brain has no motivation to keep it. 2. Explain it to a real or imaginary human. Say it out loud like you're teaching a friend, or a cat. Cats don't judge. When you explain something simply, you reveal whether you actually understand it or you are just vibing with the words. 3. Connect it to something you already know. Your brain is basically a giant network of "oh, this reminds me of." If you connect new ideas to daily life, hobbies, work, or even random memes, your memory strengthens automatically. 4. Turn facts into mini stories. Humans remember stories, not isolated facts. Even a tiny example, something personal, weird, or funny, locks ideas into long-term memory. 5. Test yourself before you feel ready. This sounds scary, but it's magic. Try recalling the concept without checking your notes. If you struggle, that's good, it's productive struggle. Your brain grows from that. 6. Summarize the idea in 1 sentence. If you can't shrink it, you don't understand it. A single clean sentence forces your brain to identify the core meaning instead of drowning in details. Use these steps together and you'll notice something crazy. You'll start remembering things without trying to remember them. That's the power of understanding. Here's a little trick that feels almost unfair, like something your brain shouldn't allow, but it does anyway. It's called the anchor and trigger method. And once you try it, you'll wonder why nobody taught you this in school. Here's how it works. Pick one strong, simple image that represents the concept you're trying to understand. Not a sentence. Not a definition. A visual anchor, something your brain can grab instantly. For example, if you're learning about understanding memorizing, imagine a tiny cartoon brain sitting on a throne, wearing sunglasses, pointing at a giant dusty pile labeled useless facts. That's your anchor. Now you attach a trigger, a moment in real life that reminds you of the concept. Like whenever you open a book, or start a new podcast, or hear someone say, "I'm cramming tonight." Every time that moment happens, the anchor pops into your head automatically. Boom, instant recall. No flashcards. No dry repetition. Just a quick internal meme that sticks. Your brain remembers pictures and moments way better than words. Combine both, and you create a memory that refuses to fade. So here's the big takeaway: you don't need a bigger brain, more hours, or some magical study gene. You just need to flip the switch from memorizing to understanding. Once you stop forcing facts into your mind and start connecting ideas, everything becomes easier: faster learning, deeper clarity, and zero burnout. You start remembering things without even trying. Learning actually becomes fun again, maybe for the first time since childhood. And the best part? This shift builds confidence. Because now, when you learn something, you own it. You can use it, explain it, apply it, and it stays with you because it finally makes sense. So as you head out, try the steps from today's video. Ask why, explain things simply, connect ideas, test yourself, and build those anchors. You'll feel the difference within days. And hey, if this helped you, stick around for more videos like this. Not in a pressure-wise smash that like button way. More like, if you enjoy getting smarter without the pain, you'll love what's coming next. See you in the next one. Go learn something meaningfully today.